Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Coach's Corner. Today, we'll be going over some new tech that Seibrik here has brought to the Smash community through Twitter, and then just some other tech we can talk about as well. I know Rockman started posting a bunch of stuff with just aerial footstool stuff, which is really cool. We also have Goblin joining us today because another topic that we'll be covering is Smash Bros. And I know all of the top level Smash players have been on the grind with that, so definitely want to get everyone's insight on that. And before we get started, how's everyone doing? Goblin, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing pretty good. Just been working on homework. About to hop on the Smash Bros grind after this too. So
Hell yeah.
Nice, nice. Saber, how you doing?
I've been better. I mean, I'm excited about everything that's happening this week, but I'm battling a pretty intense head cold right now. Not COVID. Got the test right here. You can't see it, but it's negative. And I'm doing pretty good. Just doing as much as I can to get the word out on this stuff. I think even if it's not for everyone, it's for a lot of people. And, everyone should at least give it a shot.
And Tony, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. I actually still have not had a day off since Let's Make Moves Miami. So I just climbed off the plane, started working 12-hour shifts. So it's just a carnival of fun over here.
The grind.
Yes, sir. Getting it done.
All right, so I guess we can jump into the tech first, and I'd love to hear Goblin's insight on the tech as well. So I think it's really cool. We have a bunch of different perspectives, obviously, Sabrick, and like all of us in general, kind of on the lab rat side, at least on Coach's Corner or just like coaching stuff, and then Goblin, obviously, a top player. So top players and lab rats, they I don't say they view the game completely different, but I love it when you can, because the top player wants to view the application of the tech where it's like, well, how hard is it? How hard is the tech to do, right? And if I can apply it, how fast can I apply it before, after so much training mode and stuff like that. So some tech obviously isn't quote unquote worth it, or just takes some time to ramp up. I think the stuff that we've been seeing on Twitter can be applied pretty quickly. I think footstooling out of shield, or just footstooling in general, has been just something that everyone has been doing lately, right? Obviously, some characters like Steve, if you miss your footstool down there, it's whatever. Like, it's still good. So some characters, it's like really strong. You go for it no matter what. Then there's other characters where, like Sephiroth and stuff like that. If you mess it up, you die for it or get hit. So Saber, why don't you go into the details of all the different tech that you found? Because I know that some of it involves making footstool out of shield, or just footstool out of shield a little bit more, or a lot more consistent actually. And then there's like the double jump out of shield. Obviously you're the one that found that out, so why don't you go ahead and break it down?
Sure, thank you. So for those that somehow might not know, if they don't have Twitter or haven't been around Smash Twitter for this week, there was a new discovery, I guess, of how to actually play out of your locked shield. So for anyone else that might not know, or if you're not too familiar with Smash Ultimate, there is a well-known tech that you can either double shield, or you like two shield buttons being held, or you can hold shield and hold B, and that will lock you in your shield so that you can like move the bubble around without and not roll or sidestep. Or jump. Like, that was the other thing. Like, you couldn't jump, you couldn't roll, you couldn't sidestep. Like, you were stuck in that place. So, prior to this week, that was mostly just utilized for protecting yourself. Like, it made it feel a little bit more like Street Fighter, where you have blocking high and blocking low. And, like, if you're on a platform and someone's harassing you from below, you'd be able to, like, angle it low and protect your feet a little better. So, like, that was, I think, if I'm not mistaken, like, right? Like, that was like the majority of that tech up until fairly recently. In January is when it all really started. I completely by accident found that you could do the short hop attack macro. So jump attack at the same time. Like short hop forward air, short hop back air, like those things that they put into this game. For whatever reason, ignores the double shield completely. My thinking is that somewhere on the code side of things, there's like a check. Should you be able to jump out of shield, yes or no? And then there's like the short hop macro of, oh, are you pressing these two buttons? Okay, do it. And I think if you try it, like somewhere in the code, it just doesn't get to the shield lock check, and it just jumps right to the, oh, you're hitting these two buttons, do it. So I basically think that there's just no stopping the short hop macro in like a priority system. So that's why it works. Why no one has ever discovered it up until recently. And I still consider January pretty recent. I talked to Gimmer about it, and his theory, which I agree with, is most people's controls are somewhat default. And when you go into training mode, there's a reset function of L, R, and A. And if you're trying to do anything regarding double shield and macro, if you successfully did it, it would reset your situation, and you wouldn't even see the thing. So that's just a theory why at least, heavy labbers haven't found it yet. And I don't even consider myself a lab rat, by the way. So, this is all very new territory for me to be exploring as, pioneering and figuring out the more intricacies about it. I'm more on the psychological side of the game, understanding why people do things, but this is just a lot of fun that I'm exploring right now. So that was cool and good. And then, 2 months ago, I just joined Nick Riddle's stream when he was streaming some, tech practice. And I was like, hey, by the way, I know this trick. Did you know that you could, do the macro and circumnavigate the shield lock? And he didn't. He was playing around with it. And eventually I was just like, hey, I wonder if... This is the brawl player in me. Hey, I wonder if, we can set up the buffer system such that you can just be trying to jump, and then when you take away the unlock, it jumps. That was just the theory behind it. And it immediately worked. So by holding 2 shield buttons and then holding jump, when you let go of one shield button, it says, okay, you're not locked anymore, and you're basically buffering, and in the game's sense, you're mashing jump by holding it. It tries to do it in the first frame possible. And the reason why that's really, 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 really good is you can angle your shield forward or back, not roll, and then get a full drift forward or back out of your shield. Because when you eventually unlock your shield, the jump takes priority over the roll. So even though you're unlocking your shield and holding forward, jump happens, not roll. So what ends up happening is now, because you're already holding forward or already holding back while you're in your shield, your jumps from the floor are full drift from frame 1. Instead of what everyone does today, they jump and then they drift. Everyone jumps out of shield and then they hold forward, and then they hold back. We held on to that for a couple of months because it didn't seem that useful. I mean, it was good. It was cool to be able to control it, but we were only getting full hops at the time. And we couldn't figure out, or at least we didn't think of how we would have gotten a short hop. And we had tested footstool out of shield when we knew the full hop one, and it just wasn't consistent at all. And then this weekend at Let's Make Moves Miami, I just decided to see who knows this stuff, any of it. And I challenged Goblin. I think I approached you at some point too with this. You right?
Yeah. You asked me if a question, if I wanted to know about it.
Yeah, it was basically I was money matching top players and being like, hey, if you know about this tech, I'll give you $5. You just have to be honest when I show it to you. And if you don't know it, you have to give me $5. I didn't always do that amount. I ended up bargaining with some people. I really just wanted to show off the thing more than anything, and really see if someone knew about it. I did about 10 people or groups of people, and every single one of them either didn't know about it or their jaw dropped when they saw it. It was some combination of the two. And that was before I knew how to do the short hop version. I was just showing them full drift out of shield and the macro attack, and they were still freaking out. Sunday night, I'm going home, and it's me, Neo, and the guy that drove us, my friend Lee, who I've known for years. And we're at Lee's place while we're waiting for my girlfriend to pick us up from there. It was a midway point. And I'm just like, hey, Neo, check this out. I just want to make sure you know about this. And he's like, oh, that's cool. And we're watching grand finals from their place too, and just hanging out. And I'm like, hey, I wonder, or no, hey, I wish we could do a short hop. I was just thinking out loud. And within 5 minutes of me just saying that, I just started messing with the buttons. And it clicked that if I wasn't holding jump, that if I let go of jumps in that sequence, full hops are dictated by how long you hold the button. So by letting go of jump as you unlock, you then got the short hop. Okay? So double shield, hold jump, release one shield, release jump, and it gives you an automatic short hop out of a locked shield. Again, same thing. You can hold forward, you can hold back, and you can get now short hops forward or back, full drift out of shield, just empty hops, and then decide if you want to attack or not with that drift. Opening up full drift nairs out of shield. Like you can full drift short hop nair, you can full drift full hop nair. It's really good for Roy, really good for just anyone that likes their nair, basically. And literally, I'm not even joking. I did maybe 2 or 3 of the short hop reps, and then I was like, all right, let me just see. And I said, hey, Neo, come here and forward air me with Corrin. And he forward aired my block, and I got footstool out of shield on the first try, and the second try, and the third try. Like, it was just back to back to back. I didn't fully understand the inner workings, but I was just messing with the buttons, trying out of double shield, and it was working, I don't know, 7 out of 10 times. And this is coming from, again, I'm not a lab rat, and I quit Joker a year ago because when footstool down gun was coming out, I was like, that's cool. Practiced it for 2 hours. Couldn't do 1, couldn't do 2. And I was like, all right, well, this is my skill barrier. I'm going to feel like crap every time I play Joker now, and I don't get this. Let me put Joker to the side until I figure out how to do this. And then I never picked him back up. So I'm not good at doing this tech at all. And then now I can do it most of the time. And then since I've learned like the actual intricacies of it, I'm getting footstools out of shield more than most of the time. And I would say maybe in about a week or 2 weeks tops, I'll feel comfortable enough to go for them in tournament more often, except Brawler just doesn't get anything. So I really do have to pick up like Pyra, Joker, Mega Man. I was talking with Tony. I want to pick up a footstooling out of shield character just to push this kind of meta along.
Yeah. I think Pyra is really strong with footstool. Obviously, a character, if you have a platform, you can do footstool dare, land on the platform, then go like down tilt up air or go into straight up.
There's so much.
Right? And I mean, giving a powerhouse like Pyra
a frame for her.
Right, like better out of shield than Mithra is like pretty crazy. I'd love to hear your thoughts, Goblin, on how applicable this tech scene like feels like to you. I mean, I know Roy has just up B out of shield in general, which is pretty solid, but I know Rockman also came up with like if you do footstool and then like drift back a little bit, you can actually get like you can scoop people with up B after a grounded footstool. So do you think that tech in combination with this tech, is that something do you think that you would commit time into? Do you think it's worth committing time into? Just your general thoughts on the tech.
So I think if it makes footstool easier for Roy, because that was one thing I was struggling with when I was trying to like practice footstools, is that the reward that you get from doing a Roy up B footstool, like when you were talking Seibrik, and you mentioned that when you were talking between the full hop and doing the straw variation, that if you want to do the straw variation instead of holding jump, which I thought was like initially when I was watching the video, I felt like that was the whole purpose, is that you want to hold jump so that when you release one of the shields, so that you don't mess up your roll or like spot dodge, that you're gonna get an instant jump. But if you have to do short hop and you have to let go of one shield first and then you press a jump button, you don't think there's room for error between the let go?
There is. There's definitely room for error, but it's not roll.
But you don't think in the time that it takes for someone to press R and then, or let go of R and then press like X and then move a direction, there could be time for if you wanted to get a full drift like aerial out of shield with the short hop.
So you're holding jump and then you're releasing jump as the jump is about to come out, so you don't get full.
Correct. So think of the order. It's shield, jump, then let go of shield, and immediately let go of jump. And then just releasing in that like 1-2 sequence, you get your short hop.
Okay,
and so you're saying like a blink.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying as soon as you let go of that first shield, one of the two shields,
it's gonna try to
let go of jump. If you let go of jump, it will do the straw hop.
Yep.
Okay.
There is one caveat to that, which I learned through many Twitter users, is that if you get hit on shield, aka the main reason you would do the footstool, if we're not talking about the footstool, what I said, everything perfect, okay? It'll always work. Yeah. If you are getting hit on block and you want to footstool, if you're already holding jump, your jump gets eaten in block stun.
Yeah.
So if your goal is to footstool them out of shield, you have to not hold jump, double shield. On block, you're going to start mashing jump as you release the lock. You still won't be able to roll, and you're going to get your footstool.
But could you, in theory, just keep holding jump, and then once they hit your shield, let's say it's like a strong move too, let's say it's like a Ryu back air, where when you're in those shield stun frames, could you not just let go of shield and then add in new, and then press jump again? Or
Maybe.
like not let go of shield, let go of jump, and then just press jump again while you're
Yeah, maybe. Test it out. Again, this is all fully new. I'm just trying. My goal is finding the simplest, shortest route to whatever the thing is, and then like giving that to people. And if there's easier ways or optimizations or option selects people can learn through it, great. But I really wanted to get to like the nitty gritty of the minimalist inputs needed to do the thing. Tony?
I'm pretty confident that if you're dropping shield and at just putting it in with the shield drop buffer, as long as you're pressing jump during the shield drop, it should interrupt the shield drop with jump.
Well, you're not shield dropping.
You're not shield dropping. He's just
still
releasing
holding
one shield so it doesn't lock you into shield, right?
In the
You're
example
unlocking.
Lexi is given
Oh, I see.
of yeah. So if you let go of the shield, so if you're buffering the shield drop and then you let go of the shield for when they do hit your shield, then you could press jump again and it should still interrupt the shield drop.
Now
you're talking about the shield button drop, like dropping the shield button, right?
I call it unlocking whenever we refer to like the letting go of one is just unlocking. And letting go of two is shield dropping, like you're letting go of shield.
Okay.
Right.
But yeah, even for
Now
Roy, the full drift nair out of shield is also that's probably the
It's
best
really big.
one for Roy. If someone spaces a move and it's like, okay, I could nair out of shield, but I need like full drift nair out of shield. And even if someone's close to you, the more closer you are to your opponent when you're starting these nairs up with Roy, the more position I don't want to say frame advantage, but the more position advantage you get, right? So for example, Goblin could do a full drift nair, and if someone's like really close, he could maybe even like full drift nair forward smash or something like that, just so he can get that close hit of the forward smash or forward tilt
where
or
they're
something
really
like that.
inside of him and he's
Right.
still pulling them forward.
Or side B, right? Like nair,
Yeah.
like double full drift nair into like a side B or something like that, right? Yeah.
Well, one other cool thing you can do with this tech now is side B more easily out of shield, out of a short hop. You can do this short hop, and then you can either side B or B reverse side B. Like I can hold back while I'm blocking, and then when I do the short hop, I'll be jumping back, full drift back, and then I can come back in with a B reverse side B after that jump initiates. There's a lot of crazy tech that you could do if you have good side Bs and things that you want to be able to just mash out of shield. And this is going to give you the fastest and farthest reaching available way to do, let's say, a side B out of shield. Without risking roll ever, which is like the cherry on top.
While
and I just want
protecting yourself with maximum shield tilt too, right? So it's like defensively.
Yeah.
Because one thing I really, really want to push why I think this tech is so good is a lot of the tech in Ultimate increases the offense of the game. Like, oh, I can like hit someone's shield and then flick shot away or slingshot away and then like position after hitting someone's shield. A lot of the tech in Ultimate is offensive, where this tech is defensive. And
it's both.
Well, right.
But there is obviously it's a shield thing, so it is more inclined to be defensive.
Right.
But it gives you way more ability to counterattack, or if you see an opening while you're shielding, you can be offensive out of your shield with like the optimized drift / not rolling ever. Like I've been using since January the short hop attack macro. So just generally when I wanted to back her out of shield perfectly or forward her out of shield perfectly or whatever out of shield, I've been using the double shield for like 9 months, 10 months now, whatever. And I never roll. Like I might lose because of different things, but I'm not losing to buffer, which is like a great feeling. And then one additional use case that I found yesterday, because I just think a lot, I was like, well, if I can short hop now, I wonder what a wave dash looks like when I can control my full drift, right? Like from shield, nonetheless. So to add on to your defensive play, now you can double shield and either full perfect wave dash forward or full perfect wave dash back out of that shield spot. Again, no roll risk, and it actually gives you perfect or close to perfect wave dashes consistently out of shield, which doesn't exist today. Like, you can't comfortably shield and wave dash back without being perfect, because otherwise you'll roll. Right. Now you can just buffer the direction you want to go, and then, like, when you're ready, wave dash.
So, Tony, what are your thoughts on the tech and the application? Because I know your thoughts about the game is more, I want to say, like, realistic in terms of just like execution barriers and stuff like that. So do you think this is simple enough to be applied like almost instantly, or at least like very soon from a lot of these top players?
I think in general, because of the way that it requires you to actually change your hand positioning, that it's going to be more difficult to pick up for someone who has a higher experience level. I think it's a little bit stronger if you don't already have prior experience, or rather, if your hand grip is not already so thoroughly practiced that you have a strong habit for it, then it's a lot more applicable. The main time that it would be applicable is if there's a situation in which you would be interested in or have enough time to actually switch your hand grip mid game. So, for example, if you're going to be going through a significant block string and you're just going to preemptively commit to holding the shield, and it's not a matter of, oh, well, I just am going to respond and hold shield again, then in that case, it's a lot more practical to pre-commit. And in these situations, there's usually going to be a block string. So something like a Kazi aerial into Electric Wing God Fist is something that you're usually going to actually either try and get away from, or you're going to commit to shield. And then you have to usually play a fairly skewed RPS. But just using Roy as an example for this, Roy has one of the best up Bs out of shield in the game. But using Kazuya, Lightning, and Aerial on Roy's shield, Roy can't really up B that out of shield because the risk reward is so skewed. But if you can consistently buffer then that actually would allow Roy to use a footstool up B, which would
buffer
punish.
What you cut out, Tony?
Footstool. He meant footstool. He just cut off on the word.
Footstool up B specifically.
Yeah, got it.
And the idea is that little bit of extra speed from swapping from his normal up B frames to a footstool up B frame would allow him to true punish most Kazuya aerials. Like, I think frame perfect Kazuya up air nair is still going to be -3, which is a little too safe, but in practice, that's not the kinds of things that
they're hitting the top of your shield, especially now that you're angling it, right?
Right. So you're going to more consistently have that up. Another example that we recently saw in Let's Make Moves Miami finals was the the Mithra nairs on block. You're generally going to be holding shield for the better part of a second against those strings, but this gives you more of a reasonable way to kind of commit to that buffer and then preemptively have your hand positioning ready, which is already something that you're already planning to do in those kinds of situations. So that's where I think it's most applicable. I don't think that it's going to be a commonly used thing at top level yet, if it does, mostly because of what I mentioned before about how players generally aren't going to completely reconfigure their hands or reconfigure their buttons. And so for some players, this might not be a significant change, but using other examples like Bidu Tech and Smash 4, we can just see that most players aren't going to make a significant adjustment, even if there's a lot of practical value to the tech. And so that's my opinion on it.
Bidu is like, it's so hard. Okay, I just want to explain. Bidu was like ultra omega committal because you had to use your C stick to special. I think
that's a big jump.
Right, yeah. Right. So I think it's a little unfair to compare it to Bidu, but
it's just two shields.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, I know some players map their L to jump for other tech, so I can see maybe those players.
I do too.
Right. So
and I'll talk.
Right. So I assume that you use Z and R as your two shield buttons, and then map something else to grab.
X for X.
Yeah. So
very comfortable.
Right. So I don't think it's too big of a commitment. I feel like you either go RZ for shield or you go L and R for shield.
Or Pro Controller, get an extra button.
Or yeah, or play on a Pro Controller and just pray that you don't get jammed by Wi-Fi. But it's like, I think it depends on the character you play. Like, I think for a player like Goblin, I assume he would be more interested in the full drift nair punish rather than the footstool up B, because like if you're rolling, you fuck up a footstool up B, like you're so fucked. And if you land it, it's not like you kill anyone, right? Like you get some damage, you get some stage positioning, but you don't even your advantage state. Well, like or like going to side B, but footstool is the quickest punish, right? So in terms of like,
you can't. I'm sorry. You can't footstool side B. That's not a thing.
I don't think so. So like the best thing that Roy can get off footstool is like maybe like a sour down air, which is also pretty dookie, but I don't even think you can get that, or just probably the footstool into drift back a little bit into the up B. And the thing about the up B is like even your advantage state afterwards, you don't get a lot of time to position for that advantage state, because most of the time it's going to be reset to neutral. Maybe if they're a really, really high percent, you get the footstool up B, land, and then kind of be able to position yourself for the advantage state, so it's a little bit more impactful. But for sure, I think the full drift, there's two parts of it, right? Like the footstool aspect and then the full drift aerial aspect. And a character like Roy, I think, heavily benefits off of the full drift aerial aspect of it, even if it's something like forward air, not necessarily even just an air, because the forward air and back air off of this is like really consistent to get the full drift, because you can just use the short hop attack macro, right? And you can press the direction and you can press A and then you'll get that, right?
So it's up to you, because it's short hop attack macro is not always the one you want to do. Because short hop attack macro is going to give you your rising version of the aerial, but you might be trying to apply your own shield pressure and get the falling. So for that, you'd want to do just the empty short hop and then do the action like in the middle of it or on the way down. Or what I love about it is you can create space, right? Like you can empty short hop back and swing and then create space. Like Mega Man can short hop back out of shield and throw a pellet out to create space. Like there's just like a lot of things that you'll be able to do to disengage out of this, because now you can full drift backward out and hit. Or full hop again if you're trying to disengage. You can just full hop and get. You can. I didn't mention this. You can IDJ from the floor.
Oh, that's interesting, because that's going to be crazy for Ness, Mewtwo, Sora. Sora's going to be crazy.
Yoshi gets armor on frame 1 or 2 out of shield.
Right.
Or 3, because he has to jump. So 3 or 4 armor. 4. It would be 4. Frame 4 armor out of shield rising. And like, yeah, okay. In all these contexts, if they just are getting away, they use their double jump. So like maybe you can get a hit on them and without a jump, and like that's good for you. But like I just think of all these block strings, and like Yoshi's in a corner and he'd rather be on a platform than in a corner, and he'll just double jump armor through the thing and then get to the top platform and reset. Like there's a lot of implications to IDJ. Like Nair for Sora, he can just start Nair training people now. Full drift IDJ Nair if he wants to, in either direction, or full hop it. Like there's just so much coverage that you get now that you didn't have before, because everyone up until this point was forced to jump and then decide where they want to go.
So Goblin, I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on the terms of what. So one, how this tech applies to Roy, and how you feel like do you feel like you're going to try to implement it for Roy specifically, and then also just with your experience playing against, in the current meta right now, which characters do you think kind of benefit a lot off of this? Because I mean, off the top of my head, I think Sephiroth would also be really good with this, because he has a short hop, right? And
currently bad out of shield.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So
Greninja, same thing.
Right. So I would love to hear your thoughts, Goblin, with combined with your experiences, of course.
I think for Roy, like specifically, I think the full drift nair will help. I'll probably practice it a decent bit, see how hard it is to do more than the already full drift like momentum nair tech that already like exists. Because I've done that before and I've gotten it semi consistently. But if this is a little bit easier with just like one button change, then I'll probably practice a bit more and try to like implement that to my gameplay. The footstool seems pretty limited, because again, like you said, even if I do hit the up B, at most I get like a little bit of time and space. but most of the time it's like 50%. It's negative on hit, and even then, around that percent, I'm not looking to rack up damage from like out of shields. I'm usually trying to like whiff punish or like not be in an area where my opponent can hit me because I'm very afraid of like taking more damage. I'm already at 50. Or when they're already at 50, I'm looking for like a down tilt or a jab, grab, get them off stage, look for like a jab forward smash, like a side B. But for other characters, I think Pyra for sure is definitely the biggest the biggest takeaway from this one. Just giving a character who's already so strong, who had a clear weakness, and like even Sephiroth's Nair. Sephiroth's Nair isn't even that slow on shield because it's hard to double swing on Sephiroth. Because if they mash the Nair, then at worst you might get like a mediocre punish on like a drift back Nair that a Sephiroth did without rising out of shield. But most of the time you might even just double swing into their shield and then get hit for it. But against Pyra, her best option is doing like an up B out of shield, which is too risky rather than like a Sephiroth Nair. So her just having the footstool out of shield down there and then training down onto a platform and then hitting that down throw or hitting an up smash, it just seems so like bonkers that you could lose a stock from like doing
50.
a option that wasn't like -4, getting down there out of shield down tilt and up right on top, especially if the Pyra has rage. Like your stocks are just paying like 30, 40. So I think that's definitely the biggest takeaway. I think Steve, it makes Steve probably a little bit easier. I know Steve can't tilt his shield after he's been hit once, so I don't know how much that affects it all.
It doesn't. You're still doing the buffer. You're just not protecting the body part you want.
Okay. Probably Sephiroth too. So that's how I think
He gets
like
footstool down there.
takeaways. Maybe Sheik as well.
Oh, down
Yeah.
air smash. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yep.
that's a good one.
And so Sheik gets full momentum Nair out of shield as well.
Yeah.
Which can lead into bouncy fish pretty well. So Sheik's probably gonna get take away a lot from this tech.
Although, I mean, I don't know how minus she is, but just also keep in mind that a lot of the fast characters are getting nerfed because now they're going to be more punishable than they're used to being with their aerials on block. Again, I don't know how fast Nair is on block. It might be -3, 4, 5, whatever, that it's still safe. But like, there's going to be, if this works out, like there's going to be, in my opinion, if this becomes more normal and meta, more like turtling, like where like they stare down each other instead of being the first one to jump in. Like there's going to be a lot of ramifications now for even fast characters to be jumping in on shield and trying to pressure. I watched Chunky Kong earlier today. He put a clip out where he did this because of the full drift. He was able to footstool a spaced R.O.B Nair on shield, and then if you're holding a gyro, that could be a death.
Yeah. Even Rockman was posting gyro punishes where you like foot
Yeah, and this is all happening at the same time.
Yeah. The timing
It's crazy.
is pretty crazy. I actually want to hear your guys' thoughts on some of the footstool punishes, and I love the point of just the game could be taking a more defensive turn, especially if people's punishes from this. I think that's the big takeaway. Like, if the punish is hard or crazy enough, then it's like, oh, okay, maybe the game slows down in terms, because it feels like in Ultimate, you always want to be the person knocking on someone's shield, right? Like, oh, like Roy hit a Nair on your shield. Like that's a win condition in a sense where it's like, oh, I hit your shield. I might have not hit you,
Now
but
what?
this scenario afterwards is so loaded in, Roy's favor, or a character like Fox, right? Fox Nair hits your shield, lands afterwards. Like, is he going to jab? Is he going to grab? Right? Like in that situation, even though you didn't get hit, you're just so vulnerable in a sense of just the opponent having a great advantage. Another great thing about footstool shield becoming more consistent as well is pancaking. I think characters that hurtbox shift on landing, aka like Cloudflare, Bear, Pikachu, a lot of things, Fox forward air, right? There's a lot of characters that after their shield pressure, another thing that makes it so difficult for them to get punished is not only are they good frame data wise, where it's just like, oh, well, I'm only -3 or 4, but on top of that, my hurt box is so low. If you try to do anything rising of any way, then it's not going to clip me because my hurt box is shifting. But when you footstool out of shield, the lower the hurt box, the better. So there's some footstools out of shield where it's like, oh, I can get it maybe like 6 or 7, depending on how far they are and stuff like that. But if a Fox does or a Mithra does one of those neutrairs and you don't even know which side they're on, right? You're like, oh shit, I don't know if they're in front or behind. Like they were just so close. You don't even have to drift. You just do the footstool immediately out of shield, and they're pancaking. So you can get a perfect frame 4 footstool out of shield and then do whatever punish you want, right? So I think there's a lot of implementation there.
I was going to comment out. I did an exercise yesterday with a friend online, mind you, and I don't even have my adapter plugged in right now because issues. It was just an online session to like work through this tech, and I had him do Pikachu back air on my shield 4 times, and I told him to mix up whether he was going to cross up or not. And I held straight up. I didn't even pick a direction. I just held straight up with the shield, and then I got 4 in a row. Like it was great. It was so magical. Like, let this Pikachu fall into me again. Like, he better do this back air rising or I'm killing him.
Any final thoughts, Tony, on just the shield tilting, the double shield tech and stuff like that before we go into like talking about Rockman's aerial footstool punish stuff?
No, I'll just go ahead and talk about the footstool. So I'll be honest, regarding footstool punishes in general, Anathema's already taken it further than I expected a person to take it in Ultimate. And there's still years of gameplay left, so I don't know how far footstool punishes are going to go, just because we were already past where I was expecting. So I know that I've seen quite a few gyro combos from various characters. Ironically enough, I don't think Donkey Kong can do it very well, if I remember correctly.
Oh no! Well, go watch Donkey Kong's Twitter from the past 24 hours.
Okay, well, I know my understanding was that he was struggling while going for it prior, so maybe he figured something out. So in the meantime, I would like to see players implementing it in bracket. I do look forward to it. I will say, Donkey Kong is another player I do see pushing punishes a little bit further past what we would normally expect to see on a human tournament level. So I believe he got a giant punch finish involving gyros at Rise and Grind recently. So he's obviously already proven that he can pull those off. And then we recently started seeing, of course, Sonic's using footstool down air combos to combat the Mithrin air, like I mentioned before, at the Miami Grand Finals. So we are starting to see it on the rise. I do hope we continue seeing it rise. Time will tell, though.
Yeah, for sure. So the next set of tech that we're going to talk about is more like aerial footstool punishes. So Rockman, if you guys can check out his Twitter, he's a SoCal Steve player that is a crazy labber, like void levels of labbing IMO. But he's figured out some things where you can just kind of footstool dribble, like footstool Z drop and then footstool Z drop. And then after you do so much grounded footstools in a row, your footstool will actually get shorter and shorter. So by the third one, you're right above your opponent to set up, whatever punish and something gyro throw Z catch into some finisher, right? Most characters can do this pretty reliably. So that was a cool concept. And then the other cool concept was aerial footstool. So this is a little bit more limited. So if you guys don't know, certain characters have specific hurt boxes when they get footstooled in the air. Bowser has like the absolute worst one because he does like this super cartwheel thing. He throws his hands up in the air, so you can actually get footstool into like some kind of rising aerial. Another character that has a really bad aerial footstool animation is Steve. Obviously a very meta relevant character, the best character in the game, to the point where Mario can do footstool down air in the air and then just double jump up B, and the down air will put them so high that you just die off the up B after the footstool down air. I saw someone else on Twitter do a Wario one where they do footstool nair and then they just chain it into different platforms and then end it with a waff, and they do like 2 to 3 footstool nairs. So I want to hear your guys' opinion on that, because I think this one is not as consistent. And the big thing that makes it like scary for me is, one, it's character specific. So maybe it's not so scary if you know exactly what character you're doing it on and you're very used to that specific weight if you're like only doing it versus Steve. But my big thing is like, if you fuck this up, if you like say you footstool aerial, but you do the aerial too late, you footstool them down and then you're above them. So I think the risk, the reward is crazy, but then the risk is like if you fuck it up, then they get an advantage state and stuff like that. So, I mean, what are your thoughts, Goblin, on some of this aerial footstool combos?
The way I see like a lot of these high tech combos is that there's for some characters there's minimum risk to messing up. Like if R.O.B messes up like a gyro, like a gyro footstool combo, he just goes up and then just falls back down to nair,
Right,
and if Wario were to mess up like a combo, Yeah, it's hard, but he's only landing this combo also is really good on Steve, and Steve doesn't really cover the air that well. He covers most of the ground like platforms. And Wario just gets up real high and then just bikes and then just changes drifts and how he's gonna land. I think and most of the time when you mess up like a combo, you're at least hitting them and then sending them in like the wrong direction or hitting them with like the wrong move. Like you're not really just mistiming the entire aerial and then just like footstooling and then just jumping off of them and doing like a downer. Hopefully like, that's not happening if you're well practiced doing a combo like that. But I think if the combo is like mechanically like taxing, like it's very hard to do it consistently, especially in a bracket setting, then maybe it's not going to go too far. But there's always going to be 1 to 2 people playing like a few characters who know a few combos on a few characters that do take it all the way. And that clip, like a clip of that might might happen on Twitter. Maybe not in the very like near future, but it'll probably eventually happen.
Nice. Well, what are your thoughts, Saibrik?
Yeah, I see this more as the clip maker, like, and it's going to exist until it happens, and then it won't happen again for like 3 months, maybe, in like a meaningful moment. So it's cool to know that you can do it, but until I see Gluttony or Kurama with Mario like doing these things as their bread and butters, like until they become bread and butter status, they're just going to be like clip highlights, I think.
Tony?
So I'm actually fairly ignorant. My paradigm of picturing aerial footstools is generally so that you want to do them in a way so that you are indifferent to whether or not the footstool connects, or rather you want the footstool boost, not the actual footstool animation. And then the alternative to that is if you are looking to footstool and connect the animation, you're generally looking to get the tech chase situation that comes after. And so this requires an entirely different branch of decision making where I'm pretty sure it's too quick for you to be able to actually hit confirm off of an aerial footstool for most of the casts. And so what we're looking at is the risk reward worth making the attempt? And are there set scenarios where you can reliably recognize in advance whether or not it's going to connect? So for example, Wario going for an air, one of the issues with, or rather against Wario Nair, is that at higher levels of play, a lot of players can actually parry the second hit of Wario Nair on reaction. And so they're not actually reacting to Nair 2, they're just seeing Nair 1 and then knowing that Nair 2 comes after. And so that's an example of the kind of situation where even though something normally isn't that reactable, you can react if you recognize what the preceding tell of that situation is. And I don't know what those situations would look like because I haven't evaluated it well enough, hence my ignorance. So I don't have a particular opinion on it just because I don't know.
The best example I can imagine is Mario laddering you. So imagine he gets like a medium % up air while landing on a platform. That's probably a really perfect situation for him to then full hop into you and go for the footstool down air. And that's pretty common. So Mario might be like the best at doing this, but I know it only works on a few characters. And my problem with it is that risk that you mentioned, because it's not just you're above them and they're below you. It's that you're above them without a double jump. Like no matter how perfect you're going to be with that footstool, even in the example of Mario just landed on a platform, he full hopped at their hit stun and then tried to footstool them. When you're going for aerial footstools, you're probably going to want to mash jump to make sure you get it. And in doing that, you're going to have your double jump rings like come out right before the footstool most of the time. So,
well, the way the way that Rockman did it, he actually goes for the footstool without double jumping because the follow up is a double jump into up B. So he's pressing.
It's
right.
possible. I'm just recognizing the risk of human error.
If you mess up, right? Because if you don't hit the footstool, then you double jump, right? So if you miss,
or if you're a little early, you'll still hit the footstool, but then you don't have your double jump maybe to get the full combo even.
Right. Yeah, I think for the way Goblin broke it down in the beginning, I really liked because he brought it up and like I tried to first kind of bring it into view as a general matchup thing, but I know Mario specifically struggles versus Steve, right?
Yeah.
It's just a little hard to get in. His hitboxes are a little stubby. His actual hits don't like clear blocks out really quick. Like you might be able to clear out dirt blocks with like fair, but once the materials start getting upgraded, he's just not really destroying blocks very well, right? He has good air drift to try and get around the blocks, but so say in the situation that Rockman put up, he can kill Steve at 50% about if he lands like an up air on a platform or something. If without a platform, maybe we up it to like 60 or 70%. But essentially getting in with a landing up air and then being able to get the KO much earlier, much more, just much earlier. And then if you mess up with the double jump thing, Steve is like Goblin mentioned, Steve is a character that's not quick left and right, except with minecart, right? So if you have the redstone, you have the gold, then you can chase down with minecart on the ground. But that's also just like has a little bit of startup. You know, I think it's hard to catch landings with the minecart.
He also has a cape and a flood to cover himself on the way down.
So
and fireball.
So I think it really depends. It might be very matchup specific for some of these footstool punishes, but I think that's perfectly fine. And I think this could be something very, very strong against Steve because I don't think Steve necessarily punishes landings really well because of his lack of ground mobility. He just makes it really hard for you to get in on him, right? But he doesn't he's not like Fox or something like that, chasing down your landings, moving at the speed of light with like dash attack or something like that, right? So I think it could be very strong against Steve. We'll see. And I think that if the matchup is bad, like say if the Mario players think that the matchup's bad, then you got to start taking risks with some of your punish games. Like you need to start cheesing this character at like 50, 60% because you don't get in that often. So when you do get in, you really got to make it count. And if you're only labbing this combo on one specific character for one specific matchup, and then you just do the regular up air ladders for the other ones, like, okay, cool. I think we might see it sooner than other people might expect it, but it might be for very specific matchups. And it really depends on if these top level Mario players deem it worth it, right? Like, do I like if you're Karama, do you feel like the Steve matchup is so bad that you either switch a character or you can either learn a new character, right? Or you can learn new tech. But if the matchup's bad, you got to do something, right? Or you're just be way better than the other player. So I mean, usually that
But heavier punish game helps mitigate some of that, right? Like, so going for that new tech is really going to help with a matchup because you're saying I don't have to win as many situations now to keep it even.
Right. And if I do mess up, Steve's not the best at covering landings. So, right. You know, I think it's hyper specific. Like it's got to be matchup based, right? And it only works in characters anyway. But yeah.
Well, hold on. That one is like those ones are. But and I don't do it, but Brawler actually has some crazy footstool mechanics. It's not a conventional footstool combo into something else. He can literally just like down throw you at 0 to 40 or something, early percents, and then down throw footstool you and then tech chase you onto platforms, or FD and repeat itself. Like he can grab Bowser and down throw him and essentially chain grab him or take him all the way to the edge if they keep rolling to the ledge and then try to do something from there. So there is some tech out there that goes beyond what we've seen in the couple of combos. And I'm sure Brawler is not probably the only character that can do something like this. Like this is just what we found we could do with footstools, aerial footstools. But I'm sure there are similar-ish things out there for just footstool them in the air to get a tech chase of some sort.
Yeah, for sure. So we're got a little bit of time left, so definitely want to talk more about Smash Bros. Goblin. What is your experience through Smash Bros. So far? Are you liking the grind? How much have you been playing? I know last time I checked, the Spargo and Sonics were ranked 1 and 2. That was about a week ago, though, so I'm not too sure about how the rankings have been changing. But how's your experience, Goblin?
My experience has been pretty good. I just like the ladder concept, the concept that you just queue up for a match, you find some random player, and then you play a best of 3, and then you go up or down like on this ladder. If you played like League before, it really reminds you of League, but I'd say like in a smaller base because the players you're fighting, most of them at least. And at this point, a lot of players know where they are on like a skill level, like on this ranking. So they're like, oh cool, like I'm in like around on this like level or this rank right now around these players who were like offline. They're like top 16ers, top 8ers, top 32ers. I think like my only problems with Smash Bros is that it's closed beta right now, so there's not many people to us like funnel the elo. So, for example, like me, I won like 7 matches in a row, and after like winning those last 2 matches, I gained like an LP is in like the thousands. I think right now is at like 2,800, and I was like, I need to win one more to be top 5 on the rank, and then I lost to Sharp who had like 300 or 200 less elo than I did, and it took me down from 2,800 to like 2,500 in just one loss. And I was like, dude, my last 3 wins didn't even give me like 10% of that value that I just lost. So I think because there's not as many people on the website right now, that you lose a match, you just lose so much value because there's not that many people to compare it to. So I went from being number 8, and then within one loss dropped to like 26.
Holy crap!
So yeah, that's definitely like my problem with it. But I think besides that, it's good. Definitely probably make the website look a little bit cleaner. And maybe give like more options, maybe like an option to like a best of 5 or like a best of 3. I know like in Anthers, you could have like an alt in Anthers, because I know in Smash Bros it syncs up to your Discord. So as like right now you can't even make like a second account because it's on your Discord. You have to make a whole and not entire new Discord. But if they could help you let you make an alt that's still connected to your Discord, but it's under like a different account, so your current rank, your current points stay the same. I think that'd be a good change. But overall, it's been pretty good. I'm excited to get back on today.
Yeah, for sure. So why don't you? And this will be like after this, we'll probably end the show. But how would you compare Smash Bros to how you've grinded like ever since you started, right? So when you start, like, just go ahead and tell us, when you started playing, how you used to grind, and then as the years went on, how you went through different avenues. I know there's like for online, there's other Discords that you can join, and kind of just there's a bunch of people that are pretty good at the game, and you guys say who wants games and stuff like that. But yeah, let us know your other experiences before Smash Bros.
So when I first started playing, I think the biggest thing that helped me was when I was like brand new, was just like learning tech and labbing tech, learning inputs, labbing inputs. That's like the basic thing, because you have to know how to play the game first of all. And then I think going to Fest is definitely a big one. Just asking questions, just playing a lot of games. I think people play a lot of games, but they just blindly go into the next game. But even at like for example, like a novice level, you just play a game, you lose a game. Even if it's just one thing, you figure out one thing went wrong in that game, and then you try to fix it for the next game, and that could just be like one step closer to improvement. And I also tried Anthers. I was what do you call it? I committed the crime of playing on a hotspot several times and saying like, "Yo, why is the
Get
connection
this man
bad?
out of here."
Why is the connection bad? I'm on land right now." And that was still good practice, because
For you?
it replicated bracket sensation, and I think that's where a majority of improvement comes from, is being able to constantly replicate a bracket situation and put in the things that you want to put like in practice into bracket. So like when I go to a major like twice a month, right? And I have like one local that I go 2 weeks. So if I'm only be able to implement new things in these brackets, I'd say like 8 times, so 4 times for the locals and then like 2 times for the majors, so like 6 times, then I'm not able to implement so many new things because I'm only going to so little tournaments. But since I have Smash Bros, which is like a constant ladder that can go on like anytime, any day, and just hope that someone else is on the queue, I can replicate like a bracket sensation so that I can put like my head into it. I could try to like focus on putting in new things that I want to work on. And the good thing about it is that even though it replicates a bracket sensation, it is not bracket. So if you have that one crazy thing that you were planning to do and you see the opening come up for it, it's a good opportunity to go for it, because you'll know like your thought process and your thought process on going for it in this moment, and you can see how this could replicate itself in like a bracket. Like you go for it once, Smash Bros, it goes bad terribly. All right, don't do it. Like in bracket now, like not to. and then you practice a bit more, go back to Smash Bros, and you get it, and it works out well. And now you can know that because it worked on Smash Bros, especially because there's Wi-Fi delay. So a lot of new things that you're implementing are going to be harder. You know that when it comes to an offline bracket, an offline major, you're going to be way more prepared because you did it in a bracket setting on top of where input delay wise, it was significantly harder to perform. So
Yeah, great points. Great points.
I do
Would
want
you?
to.
Oh, one more question. Would you compare it to something like money matches? Like, because
Yeah, that's
I
what I
don't
was
know if
gonna
you're
say.
I don't know if you're someone that's like a money match fiend at majors or just even locals.
no, I used to be a huge money match fiend. Like even I always money match with the intention to beat whoever I was money matching. But I always money match with the intent to learn at the end of the day. So like you lose a set, you give them $5 and you're like, so what could I have like done better? What did I do wrong? You know? I would say yes and no. It does feel the same as money matches. Money matches because like when you had like a monetary value, people feel differently about a set monetary value versus Smash Bros. There's no money set, so it's just a matter of pride in that sense rather than pride and like how much does $5, $10 really mean to someone like in this moment. Um and I also think it's a little less too the same because when you money match someone, you're sitting down next to them. You have the money on the table. You finish the set. You're next to them. You fist bump them, and if you'd like to, you can talk to them after the set. In Smash Bros, same thing with answers. After a set's done, you could just close the lobby room, like the whole like arena, and then open up a new chat. So, it kind of dehumanizes itself in that sense because you're not seeing the person you're playing against like right next to you.
Maybe
So,
that's a feature that they need is webcam support.
What? Yeah, I mean that could be a thing.
Some people might like it.
Um, but yeah, I think that's how I would compare it to many matches. So, um, I think for I think they both have their positives and negatives. You know, money is always like something for everybody, and how you view just either or is just up to the person.
Sabrick, Tony, do you guys have any more questions for Goblin and his experience with Smash Bros?
I would like to ask what your experience is with like region locking. Like, are you running into other players on the East Coast, or you ended up matching with?
Down on the West Coast.
So I've ran into a couple West Coast players, and it's still pretty mediocre that you can run into a West Coast player and that the connections isn't as great as if you were to fight someone from the East Coast. But I think the biggest change from Anthers to this is that it is region locked just to NA, or as far as I know. So a big problem with Anthers is that you would get in, you're getting queued, you find a match after like 5 minutes, you play, and it'd be someone from like Europe, and you're like, dude, I'm from like Montana. How am I gonna play like with this connection to Europe? So I think at least having it BNA is good, but I think it should definitely be like coast locked. And if you want to make Smash Bros like a really really big thing, you could have multiple like um regions have their own like ladder, and then you could like make like a big event where the tops of these ladders like get together like in a bracket or something. You know, in the super long run, what it could end up being.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I think that's a great suggestion. Just kind of Midwest, West Coast, East Coast, and then you could also do like Canada. You could just line it up with Canada. I don't know how, like, if Florida connects to like East Canada. I don't know how bad that is, but
Yeah.
maybe even divvy up Canada, East and West Canada, Central
Yeah.
Canada, and then I know Mexico is also pretty large, so I don't even know if you would want to do all of Mexico.
Mhm.
Or maybe even divvy up Mexico and stuff like that. So I think that's a great suggestion in terms of just having the connection being a little bit more consistent. And I know some players just use the mod as well, like the 4-frame mod thing.
Yeah.
So that also can help too. So yeah, I think there's quite a bit of improvement that can be done. So looking forward to that. Saber, do you
The
have any more?
children yearn for the Smash boards.
Yeah, I know, right? Saber, any more questions for
Sure.
Goblin?
No. I mean, I definitely want to get in on it. I want to try it out. I do appreciate there being an extrinsic, there's a word there, an extra value besides just the I want to win this match because I want to. Like luckily someone like Neo isn't, and even a lot of the Japanese players do most of the time put their all into just about every friendly, but I don't know that the same is true for most of the American players. To Goblin's point, I feel like a lot of players use friendlies to experiment with wild stuff, which is good because like you need to do that. But then that doesn't give you like the real authentic what would have been match that you're looking to have with someone you don't get to normally play. So having Smash Pros, I think, is really, really good. And then maybe they could even incorporate an offline version of it, right? Where you could queue up with people at the event that you're at and then get offline practice with similar ranking value on it instead of having to throw money at people.
Oh, and it's
Hopefully
tied
get
to the
your
website.
adapter first.
Huh?
Yeah.
What?
Hopefully get your adapter first.
Oh yeah, I have an adapter. It's just my router broke. I have to get a new router because now I can only have one hard wire in my room right now.
That
Yeah.
sounds like a Coinbox chat room.
Yeah, don't pull the Goblin Anther ladder tech where you're on the
Yeah.
hotspot and you're like,
On
dude,
Wi-Fi.
what's up
Yeah,
with your
your-
connection?
Your cell phone like
Dude,
Failing
Goblin
Smash
is a
Sam.
menace. He's a menace. All right, well, that's gonna be it for our episode. I hope you guys enjoyed our discussions about tech and Goblin's experience with Smash Bros. Until next time, class dismissed.